You're standing in polar bear country, Greenland. Out in the middle of the ocean lies a landmass 3 times the size of France, home to just 50,000 people. A place with no roads linking towns, where dog sleds and helicopters are the only legs that can carry you forward. Greenland doesn't feel like anywhere you've ever been. It feels like another planet hiding in plain sight on Earth. So let's step beyond the edge of the map into a world where nature is still the undisputed ruler. Often called the Northern Hemisphere's frozen heart, the Greenland Ice Sheet is a colossal ice kingdom that influences the planet's climate rhythm. Spreading across nearly 1.7 million square kilometers, it isn't just a barren wasteland, it's a living force that helps regulate Earth's balance. It stretches out like an endless white desert, broken by strange, haunting cracks. Deep turquoise crevasses slice into ancient ice like jagged veins, exposing hidden depths across the plateau. Above it all, polar winds never stop, shaping snow into frozen waves and carrying a soundtrack of isolation that has echoed for thousands of years. This is where calving begins, where ice breaks away with a thunder-like roar and becomes giant icebergs. These frozen giants help build a vital ocean ecosystem. As they drift and melt, they release mineral-rich nutrients into the sea, feeding a chain of life that starts with microscopic plankton and reaches all the way up to whales. But this frozen heart is beating with growing fragility. As global temperatures rise, faster melting adds to sea level rise, threatening coastal communities worldwide. To witness the Greenland Ice Sheet is to look at something majestic and vulnerable at the same time, a reminder that distant shorelines are tied to the survival of this towering fortress of ice. Nuuk doesn't look like a capital the way most people imagine one. There are no highways funneling traffic into the city. No skyline reaching for the clouds. What you notice first is how small it feels against the landscape. Mountains stand quietly behind it. The sea presses in from almost every direction. This is where Greenland is governed, yet nature never steps aside. Modern concrete buildings sit close to wooden houses painted red, blue, and yellow. Colors chosen first for practicality. In winter, when snow wipes away edges and distances, color tells people where they are and where safety begins. Even now, those colors remain, a reminder that the city grew out of necessity, not ambition. You might pass a government office on one street, then see fishing boats unloading on the next. Snowmobiles and cars share the same narrow roads. On clear days, humpback whales surface just offshore, close enough to spot from land, as if the city itself were only a temporary guest. Nearly a third of Greenland's population lives here, yet it never feels crowded. People sense the weather before they check the forecast. Plans revolve around wind, ice, and light. In winter, darkness stretches long and the city glows under street lamps and kitchen windows. In summer, the sun refuses to set and time starts to feel different.
The National Museum of Greenland doesn't impress you with size or spectacle. Its power is quieter. Its most famous artifacts, the Qaqortoq mummies, were preserved naturally. 3 women and a child, laid side by side, sealed by cold. They offer an intimate window into the island's story, reaching back thousands of years. Their faces aren't frozen in drama. They're calm, Fur clothing still holds its shape, stitching still visible. Every detail suggests preparation for people who weren't expecting rescue or recognition, only the cold, the darkness, and whatever came next. 5 centuries later, the Arctic kept its promise. Skin, hair, tools, even the expression on a face remains, a silent record of life in an early Inuit world. Outside, Nuuk keeps moving, phones, traffic, schedules. Inside, a different rhythm holds, tradition, survival, and identity preserved in stillness.
Kangerlussuaq feels like a place made for passing through, a natural threshold. It serves as Greenland's main gateway, thanks to the region's largest international airport. Once a U.S. military base during the Cold War, it was built for strategy, and that legacy still shows. Most travelers move through quickly, not realizing it's one of the few places where you can reach the Greenland Ice Sheet by road. Set deep inland at the end of a 170-kilometer fjord, Kangerlussuaq has a more stable continental climate than the coast. Clear skies that often make it a prime spot for northern lights. The surrounding area is also musk ox territory. Kangerlussuaq doesn't invite exploration with charm, it simply makes exploration possible, then steps aside. Like a final reminder that Greenland's interior isn't scenery, it's a silent presence, completely uninterested in being conquered.
The road ends quietly at 660. No welcome sign, no barrier between land and ice. One moment you're on gravel and rock, then everything turns white, stretching to the horizon. The ice beneath your feet is older than any settlement on the island. Some layers formed hundreds of thousands of years ago, long before names, borders, or memory. Press a hand against it, and the cold hits instantly, sharp, almost corrective, reminding you how briefly you belong here. Nearby, scientists drill ice cores, pulling out frozen records of ancient climate. Dust, trapped air bubbles, traces of past atmospheres locked inside. Each layer is a chapter, stacked patiently through time. This isn't a destination you arrive at, it's a threshold you cross, where human presence shrinks to almost nothing and geologic time takes over. Standing here, you realize the ice doesn't acknowledge you, it simply exists, waiting, watching, remembering everything we've forgotten.
Russell Glacier makes its presence known before you fully see it. A distant crack carries through the air, then silence. Then it happens again. Ahead, a massive wall of ice rises nearly 60 meters high, scarred with fractures and streaked in blues and grays, shaped by pressure and time. The glacier feels alive in an unsettling way. Ice shifts constantly, chunks break without warning, collapsing into meltwater below. Every impact sends ripples across the surface, a reminder that nothing here is still. The blue you see isn't paint or reflection, it's compression. Ice so densely packed that it absorbs every color except blue. The deeper the blue, the older the ice, some of it thousands of years old, seeing daylight for the first time. On the tundra near the route to Russell Glacier, reindeer appear often, moving in small groups, heads down, searching for moss and low grass. They don't rush. Every step seems designed to save energy, as if they know Greenland's summer never lasts long. More elusive are Arctic foxes. They appear suddenly, then vanish just as fast. In summer, their fur blends into rock and dry ground in gray-brown tones. When winter arrives, it turns pure white,
an almost perfect disguise against snow and ice. Wildlife here doesn't stand out as a highlight, it belongs to the landscape, moving alongside the ice, adapting with the seasons, living in a world where silence usually wins.
As Greenland's second-largest city, Sisimiut has learned how to grow without losing itself. Modern apartments and workshops stand beside older wooden houses, not as contrast, but as continuity. For a long time, Sisimiut has been a hub of movement and skill. Fishing remains central, not as a symbol, but as daily work that still feeds families and shapes routines. Walk through the harbor in the early morning and you'll see it. Boats returning with the night's catch, hands moving quickly, practiced, efficient. The smell of salt and fish hangs in the air, the sound of nets being repaired, engines turning over. This isn't picturesque labor, it's survival transformed into expertise over generations. Snowmobiles line up beside boats at the harbor, depending on the season. What changes with the weather isn't the rhythm of life, it's the tools used to sustain it. In winter, the harbor freezes, boats sit locked in ice, and the snowmobiles take over, racing across frozen fjords to reach hunting grounds. In summer, the ice retreats, the boats return, and the cycle continues. Unlike many settlements, Sisimiut is connected by road, one of the few places where routes truly extend outward. You can drive north along the coast, past small cabins, past markers left by those who came before. The road doesn't go far, but it goes somewhere, and that matters here. Sisimiut doesn't present itself as a crossroads between past and future. It moves forward while carrying its history with ease, proving that modern life in Greenland doesn't require abandoning the values that made survival possible in the first place.
Ilulissat lives on the edge of constant motion. Icebergs drift past its coastline day and night, some taller than buildings, others polished smooth by time and water. The sound never stops, a low grinding, a distant crack, the splash of ice calving into the sea. Houses cluster along the shore, painted in muted colors that stand out against snow and ice. Reds that have faded to rust, blues that lean toward gray, yellows softened by salt wind. There are no roads connecting Ilulissat to other towns. Travel happens by boat, by air, or not at all. That isolation shapes everything. Daily routines bend around light and weather. In summer, the sun barely sets, stretching time until sleep feels optional. Children play outside at midnight. Fishermen work through what should be evening. The line between day and night disappears. In winter, darkness closes in and windows glow softly against the cold. People move carefully, conserving energy, respecting the conditions. Every task takes longer. Every trip requires planning. Nothing is guaranteed. Tourists come to photograph the ice fjord nearby, often stunned by its scale. They stand at viewpoints with cameras raised, trying to capture something that refuses to fit in a frame. Locals pass with grocery bags, children trailing behind, unmoved by what others call extraordinary. Because when you live here, the icebergs aren't a spectacle. They're the weather, the neighbors, the constant. Fishing remains central. Work continues. Life goes on. Ilulissat is Greenland's most visited town, yet it never performs. It doesn't reshape itself for visitors, doesn't soften its edges or explain itself. It lets you observe, but it doesn't change. Here, ice defines the horizon, silence fills the gaps between sounds, and the absence of roads feels less like a limitation and more like a decision no one ever questioned.
On Greenland's west coast, Sermeq Kujalleq, also known as Jakobshavn Glacier, is not just a geographic feature, it's one of the most powerful moving forces on the island. It's widely recognized as one of the fastest-flowing glaciers in the world, advancing toward the sea at an average of around 40 meters per day. That's not a slow crawl, that's momentum, force, an entire ice river pushing forward with relentless energy. That constant movement pushes enormous volumes of ice, making it one of the main sources of icebergs in the northern hemisphere. In fact, it produces a significant share of Greenland's iceberg output. Some researchers believe this is the glacier that produced the iceberg that sank the Titanic, a frozen giant born here, drifting south across decades until it met steel and history. Calving here happens with frightening scale. Massive slabs break away from the glacier's front, sometimes as tall as high-rise buildings. When they crash into the water, the sound is deafening, a boom that echoes across the fjord. The impact can be strong enough to register on seismographs far away, recorded as if the Earth itself just flinched. Waves ripple outward, sometimes small, sometimes powerful enough to rock boats kilometers away. The area is part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site, not only for its visual beauty, but for its importance in climate research. Scientists track Sermeq Kujalleq to understand polar melt and its direct impact on global sea levels. What happens here doesn't stay here. It travels, melting into oceans, raising tides, reshaping coastlines thousands of kilometers away. Icebergs born here carry compressed air bubbles from thousands of years ago, tiny time capsules preserving traces of ancient atmospheres. When scientists extract ice cores, they're reading history, breath by breath, season by season. Standing near the glacier's edge, you feel small, not in a poetic way, in a factual one. This ice doesn't care about observation. It moves because it must, and nothing you do will slow it down or speed it up. You're witnessing a force that predates nations, that will outlast cities, and all you can do is watch and remember.
Disko Bay is a vast stretch of water south of the Nuuk Peninsula, acting like a staging ground and often a graveyard for giant icebergs born from Sermeq Kujalleq. Because parts of the bay are relatively shallow, these frozen giants can get stuck, forming a silent maze of ice. The shapes vary wildly. Fortress-like blocks with flat tops and sheer walls, jagged spires that lean at impossible angles, strange domes carved by wind and water into smooth, organic curves. No two are alike. Each one is a sculpture shaped by forces beyond human control. Ice shifts from bright white in sunlight to deep blue where it's compressed, dense over time. That blue isn't a trick of light. It's age, it's pressure, it's thousands of years of snow turned into something harder than stone. When you see it up close, the blue almost glows, as if the ice itself is lit from within. In some places, the icebergs tower so high they block the horizon, casting shadows across the water that stretch for hundreds of meters. In others, they float low and wide, barely visible above the surface, but extending deep below like submerged mountains. When summer arrives, Disko Bay becomes alive. Humpback whales migrate in from warmer southern waters, drawn by abundant food, krill and small fish carried by currents. They breach and slap their tails between the ice, creating a vivid contrast, living power moving through a world of silent, drifting ice. You can hear them before you see them, the sudden exhale as they surface, a sound like a wave crashing, but sharper, more deliberate. Then the tail rises, water streaming off in sheets, and they dive.
disappearing into the blue-black depths. For local Inuit communities, Disko Bay is more than scenery. It's a vital fishing ground, a place where stories of human adaptation have been passed down for generations. Fishermen read the ice like text, knowing which passages are safe, which bergs are grounded, which ones might roll without warning. It's knowledge earned through experience, sometimes through loss. Disko Bay doesn't offer easy beauty. It offers scale, movement, the reminder that nature here operates on its own terms. And if you're patient enough to watch, it reveals something rare. A balance between the ancient and the living, between ice that has existed for millennia and life that returns every year, adapting, surviving, continuing.
Rising from the deep blue water of the fjord, Uummannaq Mountain stands like a giant heart. Two sharp peaks forming a shape so distinct it becomes both landmark and symbol. In Greenlandic, Uummannaq literally means heart-shaped, and the mountain feels like the anchor of the entire region, not just in geography, but in spirit. Below it, a vivid village of colorful wooden houses clings to rugged ground. Reds and blues and yellows stacked along the slope, each one a small declaration of presence against stone and ice. Life here is a lesson in resilience, shaped by long traditions of hunting and fishing. Small boats thread through icy water, navigating between chunks of floating ice with practiced ease. The sound of hulls scraping against ice echoes across the fjord, a rhythm locals know by heart. Sled dogs fill winter with noise and movement. Their howls carry through the cold air, sharp, primal, a sound that belongs to this landscape as much as wind or waves. These dogs aren't just transportation, they're the pulse of the season, essential companions for crossing frozen terrain where machines can fail, where fuel runs out, where only instinct and endurance matter. Each dog knows its role in the team. The lead dog sets the pace, the wheel dogs provide power, the team dogs keep formation. Hierarchy matters, respect matters, survival depends on it. Above Uummannaq, the sky delivers some of the Arctic's most dramatic displays. In summer, the midnight sun paints the island gold for 24 hours, turning icebergs into glittering shards. Light reflects off water and ice, creating a brightness that makes sleep difficult, almost unnecessary. Children play outside at all hours. Fishermen work through what should be night. Time loses its edges. In midwinter, the northern lights flare overhead, green and violet ribbons dancing above the heart-shaped peak, casting an unreal glow across frozen water. They move in waves, pulsing, shifting, as if the sky itself is breathing. Some nights they're faint, a whisper of green on the horizon. Other nights they fill the entire sky, curtains of light so bright they cast shadows on the snow. Locals barely look up anymore. They've seen it 1,000 times. But visitors stand in the cold for hours, necks craned, cameras failing to capture what the eye sees. Because some things can't be recorded, only witnessed. Uummannaq is where Arctic harshness meets human warmth, an icebound sanctuary where nature's heart feels unmistakably alive, and where people have learned not just to survive, but to belong.
About 80 kilometers north of Ilulissat, Eqi Glacier is one of Greenland's most striking places to witness calving up close, at a distance that still feels uncomfortably real. Nicknamed the Calving Glacier, Eqi's ice front stretches roughly 5 kilometers, with walls often towering 100 to 200 meters high. That's taller than most city buildings.
a vertical wall of ancient ice rising straight from the water. The glacier breaks often. Every few minutes, sharp cracks like cannon fire echo from deep within the ice, warning that another collapse is coming. You hear it before you see it, a sound that reverberates through your chest, that makes you instinctively step back, even though you're already hundreds of meters away. Then the ice gives way. Tons of it, thousands of tons, breaking free and plunging into the fjord below. The impact is massive. Water explodes upward in white plumes. Waves roll outward in all directions. When the ice hits, it can produce small tsunamis, waves that roll outward, strong enough to rock boats waiting at what everyone thought was a safe distance. Boat captains know to keep their engines running, ready to turn into the waves, ready to move if the collapse is bigger than expected. Because up here, safe distance is always a guess. The glacier's surface is webbed with open crevasses, some so deep they swallow light. Peer into one and you see blue turning to black, depth beyond measure, ice fractured into a maze of passages that lead nowhere. Each collapse reveals fresh ice, torn from the mass behind it. What falls today may have been forming for thousands of years, compressed slowly under snowfall no one remembers. Layer upon layer, season upon season, until the weight becomes too much and gravity wins. The ice that breaks away is startlingly blue, the kind of blue that doesn't exist anywhere else in nature. It's the blue of deep compression, of air squeezed out over millennia, of water transformed into something denser, harder, more permanent than it was ever meant to be. The oxygen-rich waters in front of Eqi attract seabirds. Gulls circle overhead, diving for fish stirred up by the constant motion. Their cries mix with the sound of cracking ice. And if you're lucky, you might spot seals resting on floating ice, calm, almost lazy, like visitors enjoying the few comforts this place allows. They watch the glacier with what looks like indifference, as if they've seen this 1,000 times and know exactly when to move and when it's safe to stay. Eqi doesn't give you the luxury of distance. You're close enough to feel the cold radiating off the ice, close enough to see cracks forming in real time, close enough that when the ice falls, you feel the impact in your bones. It's not a view, it's an experience that borders on reckless, and that's exactly why people come.
Qaqortoq, the largest town in southern Greenland, appears like a carefully arranged scene. Bright wooden houses stacked along steep rock above the harbor, blues and reds and yellows climbing the hillside, each one positioned as if someone painted them into place by hand. But the town's true spirit isn't in its buildings, it's carved into the island's ancient foundation through a unique project called Stone and Man. Launched in the early 1990s by local artist Aqi, the project turned Qaqortoq into a permanent outdoor sculpture museum. Instead of placing statues into space, more than 18 artists from across the Nordic world carved directly into granite boulders and natural rock faces scattered throughout town. The idea was simple: let art emerge from the earth itself. Walking Qaqortoq becomes a quiet treasure hunt. Around 40 carvings blend into daily life, hidden in plain sight. A thoughtful Inuit face emerging from rough stone near the waterfront, eyes closed, expression serene, as if the person has always been there, just waiting to be revealed. Whales flowing across a rock near the post office, their bodies curved and graceful, frozen mid-leap in gray granite. Arctic symbols etched into ground where children run and play. Harpoons, kayaks, seals, the tools and animals that define survival for generations. You might walk past one and not notice it at first. Then you turn back, realizing what you thought was natural shadow is actually carved depth. Granite here is hard and unforgiving. It doesn't yield easily.
Every strike of the chisel requires force, precision, patience. Artists spend days, sometimes weeks, on a single piece, coaxing softness out of the roughest material. The stone resists, but slowly it gives way, and something human emerges from something ancient. These aren't polished museum pieces. They're raw, weathered, exposed to salt, wind, and snow. Over time, they age with the landscape. Edges soften, surfaces darken. They become part of the rock again, even as they remain distinct from it. Some pieces celebrate Greenlandic identity. Others explore universal themes: loss, memory, connection. But they all share one thing. They don't sit apart from nature. They rise from the earth, weather the elements, and reflect a deep bond between human imagination and the geology beneath it. Art in Qaqortoq isn't something you visit, it's something you live among. You pass it on your way to work. Children climb on it. Snow covers it in winter. Rain runs down its carved surfaces. It's beauty, yes, but it's also permanence. A reminder that culture here isn't fragile. It's built into the rock itself. In a green valley overlooking a fjord, the Hvalsey church ruins are Greenland's best preserved medieval Norse site. Built around the 14th century by Viking settlers from Iceland, the church has long lost its roof and interior. Yet its thick granite walls, about 1.5 meters wide, still stand after more than 600 years of Arctic weather. The construction is remarkable. Massive stones fitted tightly together with little or no mortar, creating a structure that has endured far beyond its builders. You can run your hand along the walls and feel the precision, stone against stone, edges that still meet cleanly after centuries. This wasn't rushed work. This was permanence. Arched windows and the main entrance still frame views of blue water, hinting at a time when Catholic Europe and northern exploration reached even here. Stand in the doorway and you see what they saw: the same mountains, the same fjord, the same light cutting through clouds. But Hvalsey is tied to one of history's great mysteries: the disappearance of the Norse Greenlanders. The last known recorded event here was a wedding, September 14, 1408, held inside this very church. Two people joined in marriage, witnessed by a community, documented in writing that somehow survived. After that, written traces fade. By the mid-15th century, the Norse settlements of southern Greenland were empty. No bodies found, no signs of violence, just absence. Theories remain: a cooling climate during the Little Ice Age, collapsing trade routes with Europe, depleted resources, overgrazing that turned pastures to dust. Growing isolation as ships stopped coming, as seasons grew harsher, as the old world forgot them. Some suggest they were absorbed into Inuit communities. Others believe they tried to sail back to Iceland or Norway and were lost at sea. The stones don't confirm any one answer. They simply remain, standing as evidence of a community that vanished. Inside the ruined walls, grass grows where pews once stood. Wildflowers push through cracks in the floor. The altar is gone. The cross is gone. The voices are gone. But the space still feels sacred, not because of what remains, because of what's missing. Hvalsey forces you to confront impermanence. These people built for eternity. They chose the hardest stone. They fitted each piece with care. And still, they disappeared. Their church outlasted them, but their story ended in silence. Standing here, you realize that survival is never guaranteed, not even when you do everything right. And sometimes, the only trace left is the walls you built, and the questions no one can answer.
Not far from Viking ruins, Igaliku feels like a beautiful contradiction. This is one of Greenland's most picturesque settlements, tucked at the end of a fjord where the soil is surprisingly fertile. Green stretches across the valley, grass thick enough to support livestock, a scene that belongs more to Scandinavia than the Arctic. Igaliku sits on the site of Gardar, once a Norse bishop's seat and a religious and political center, where Vikings governed, where they worshipped, where they tried to transplant European life onto frozen ground. The modern story began in 1782. Anders Olsen, a Norwegian trader, and his Inuit wife, Tuperna, chose to settle here and raise cattle. An unusual decision, cattle in Greenland, but they saw possibility where others saw emptiness. They reused red sandstone from the ruins of Gardar to build early homes, creating a warm, earthy architecture that still stands out against snow-covered mountains. You can still see those red stones built into walls, marking doorways, the same material Vikings shaped centuries ago, repurposed for a new kind of survival. Today, Igaliku is a small farming village, home to only a few dozen people, centered on sheep. Along the King's Road leading into town, green fields stretch outward, and white sheep graze between red stone outcrops, a scene that can look more like rural Scotland than an Arctic island. The sheep move slowly, heads down, pulling at grass that grows thicker here than anywhere else in Greenland. In summer, the valley fills with wildflowers, yellows and purples scattered through the green, bees humming between them. It's gentle, almost pastoral, easy to forget where you are until you look up and see mountains streaked with snow. Life moves slowly here, guided by seasons and soil. Planting happens in a narrow window when frost finally releases its grip. Harvesting comes fast before winter returns. There's no room for delay, no forgiveness for mistakes. Farmers work with an urgency that doesn't show on their faces because rushing never helped anyone in Greenland. But they know the timeline and they respect it. Igaliku shows how human communities can renew themselves. On the remains of a lost Viking world, another community grew, learning to live with the land as shared ground, not as something to conquer or control. The Norse tried to impose their way of life, and it broke them. The people here adapted, mixed knowledge, combined traditions, and found a balance, keeping a pocket of green alive in one of the harshest places on Earth. Not through force, through patience. Not through dominance, through respect. Igaliku doesn't claim victory over nature. It simply exists alongside it. And in that quiet coexistence, it has outlasted empires.
Narsaq in southern Greenland is often described as an open-air geology museum because of the rare minerals found here, some difficult to find anywhere else on Earth. The town sits on relatively flat, fertile ground, true to the meaning of Narsaq in the local language. What makes it exceptional lies beneath the surface. Rich deposits of gemstones and minerals, including rubies and the rare stone tugtapite. Tugtapite is famous for its shifting color and its red glow under ultraviolet light. In daylight, it appears white or pale pink, unremarkable, almost dull. But shine a UV light on it and it transforms, glowing deep crimson as if lit from within by some ancient fire. The intensity of the glow depends on the stone. Some burn bright, others pulse softly. It's a mineral found in only a handful of places worldwide, and Narsaq holds some of the finest specimens. This geology began billions of years ago through complex processes that created magma intrusions packed with hundreds of mineral types.
The Earth's crust here folded and fractured, allowing molten rock to push upward, cool slowly, and crystallize into formations unlike anywhere else. Geologists call it a natural laboratory, a place where the planet's deep chemistry is exposed and accessible. Narsaq draws scientists and mineral seekers alike. People arrive with hammers and magnifying glasses, searching rocky slopes for glints of color, for crystals jutting from stone. Some come for research, others for profit, a few simply for the thrill of finding something rare. But Narsaq is also an important farming area. The climate here is relatively mild, at least by Greenland standards, and the mineral-rich soil supports sheep and cattle farms, creating a striking contrast. Green pasture land rolling down toward the fjord and blue icebergs drifting offshore, life on one side, ancient ice on the other, both coexisting in the same frame. With colorful wooden houses along the fjord, Narsaq feels like a place where value isn't only on the surface. Much of its wealth lies deep inside ancient rock, quiet, permanent, and waiting. The people here know this. They farm the soil, fish the waters, and occasionally they uncover something extraordinary buried in their backyard. A ruby no bigger than a fingernail, a chunk of tugtapite glowing like ember. Reminders that beneath every step, beneath every field and foundation, there's a history far older than human memory. Narsaq doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. Its value is intrinsic, written in stone, literally. And whether you come for the gems or the farming or the view, you leave knowing one thing. This land holds more than it shows, and what it reveals, it does slowly, on its own terms.
Tasermiut Fjord stretches for about 70 kilometers in far southern Greenland and is often called the Patagonia of the North by climbers and explorers. Its signature is vertical granite, massive rock towers rising straight from the water to heights over 1,000 meters. Peaks like Kettle, Uummannaq, and Nuuk cut a sharp skyline and push human limits. These aren't gentle slopes you can hike. These are walls, sheer faces of stone that require ropes, skill, and a tolerance for exposure that most people don't possess. The granite is dense and hard, polished over millions of years by Ice Age glaciers, leaving smooth, vertical faces that free climbers dream about and fear in equal measure. Some sections are so polished they shine in sunlight, almost glassy, offering barely any holds. Climbers spend days on these walls, sometimes weeks, sleeping in hammocks suspended hundreds of meters above water. Every handhold matters, every placement of gear, every decision about whether to keep going or retreat. One mistake, and the fall is measured not in meters, but in seconds. Tasermiut is intensely quiet. The silence here isn't peaceful, it's heavy, oppressive. The kind of quiet that makes you aware of your own breathing, your heartbeat, the sound of wind against stone. The silence is broken only by meltwater waterfalls spilling from high cliffs, thin white ribbons of water falling hundreds of meters, disappearing into mist before they reach the fjord below. The sound carries, a constant rush that echoes off granite walls, filling the space between silence and stillness. Or the sudden splash of salmon in clear water. They leap, silver flashes against dark water, chasing insects or escaping predators. Brief moments of life in a place that feels otherwise frozen in time. It feels like a separate world, ruled by stone and weather. The weather here changes without warning. Clear skies can turn to fog in minutes, fog so thick you can't see the bow of your boat. Wind funnels through the fjord with sudden force, whipping water into whitecaps, making navigation dangerous. And when storms arrive, they arrive with violence. Rain that feels like needles, wind that pins you against rock, thunder that bounces between canyon walls until you can't tell where it's coming from.
But when the weather clears and the light is right, Tasermiut reveals something rare. The granite glows, warm tones of orange and pink, as if the stone itself is alive. Shadows stretch across the fjord, sharp and defined, creating contrast that makes every edge, every crack, every feature stand out. Photographers wait days for that light, that moment when stone becomes more than rock. Tasermiut doesn't welcome you, it tolerates you. It allows passage, it allows observation, but it never softens. This is a place for people who understand limits, who respect consequences, who know that beauty here comes with a price, and that the price is always attention, always respect. Because in Tasermiut, the stone doesn't care if you're ready, it simply exists, and you either rise to meet it or you leave.
On a small, isolated island among the fjords of southern Greenland, Uunartoq offers one of the Arctic's most surreal human experiences. It's one of the only places in Greenland with natural hot pools, warm enough for bathing year-round, holding steady around 37 to 38 degrees Celsius, even when air temperatures drop below freezing. The contrast is jarring. You step out of icy wind into water that feels like a warm embrace, steam rising around you, heat seeping into frozen limbs. Unlike Iceland's hot springs, Uunartoq's warmth isn't from active volcanic eruptions, but from groundwater heated under pressure deep underground before rising back to the surface. The process is slow, ancient, water filtering through rock, absorbing heat from the Earth's core, gathering minerals along the way. By the time it emerges, it's transformed, not just warm, but rich, thick with dissolved elements that leave your skin feeling different, softer, almost slick. People have used these pools for centuries, long before modern tourism reached this coast. For Inuit communities, it was a rare place to rest and recover, a pocket of warmth in a cold world. Hunters would stop here after days on the ice, soaking muscles worn from pulling sleds, from setting traps, from fighting wind. It wasn't luxury, it was necessity, a place where the body could remember what warmth felt like. Even today, it remains a quiet stop. No hotels, no facilities, just the pools themselves. Stone-lined basins filled with clear, slightly milky water. You reach Uunartoq by boat, usually a small one, navigating between icebergs that drift through the fjord like silent sentinels. The approach is stunning, barren rock, ice-covered peaks in the distance, and then this small island, green in summer, white in winter. The pools sit near the shore, open to the sky, no roof, no walls, just you and the water, and whatever weather decides to show up. Soak here in winter, and you feel the extremes at once. Your body submerged in heat, your head exposed to cold, snowflakes landing on your face and melting instantly. The air temperature might be -10, the water temperature +37, and you exist in both worlds simultaneously. It's disorienting, surreal, like your body can't decide what season it's in. In summer, the experience shifts. The midnight sun hovers above the horizon, casting golden light across the water, turning steam into luminous clouds. Icebergs drift past, blue and white against dark water, moving slowly, silently. You watch them from the pool, warm, relaxed, aware that just a few meters away, the world is still frozen. Uunartoq doesn't demand anything from you. It simply offers a moment, a pause, a place where Earth's warmth rises to meet Arctic cold, and for a brief time, you can exist in the balance between them, finding comfort not despite the extremes, but because of them. Tasiilaq, the largest town in eastern Greenland, sits in one of the most dramatic settings on Earth. The town lies on Uummannaq Island, deep inside a fjord ringed by steep, jagged peaks that rise like spearheads into the sky. Unlike the gentler valleys of the south, the mountains around Tasiilaq form a natural bowl that helps shield the town from the harshest ocean winds. But don't mistake shelter for softness. This is still eastern Greenland, still raw, still unforgiving. Bright wooden houses climb the rocky slopes, creating a striking contrast against cold gray stone. Reds and blues and greens stacked in tiers, each one clinging to terrain that wasn't meant for building. From a distance, the town looks almost painted onto the mountainside, defiant, colorful, alive against a backdrop of rock and ice. Life here moves on a different rhythm. With around 2,000 residents, Tasiilaq is the cultural and administrative heart of eastern Greenland. The language and customs shaped by long isolation. Before European explorers arrived in the late 1800s, the Uummannaq people lived largely cut off for centuries. No contact with the west coast, no regular trade, just their own knowledge, their own adaptations, their own way of surviving in one of the most remote corners of the Arctic. That isolation created something unique, a dialect, traditions, a way of seeing the world that developed independently. And traces of that independence still hold. Winter here is long and severe. The fjord turns to solid ice, locking the town in place for months, cutting it off even further from the outside world. During those months, dog sleds still matter, not for tourism, for connecting nearby settlements. Teams of dogs pulling supplies across frozen water, following routes passed down through generations, reading ice the way others read maps. The sound of sled runners on hard-packed snow, the rhythm of paws hitting ice, these are winter's signature sounds in Tasiilaq. In summer, snow retreats and wildflowers bloom at the edges of town. Brief, intense life wedged between granite towers. Purples and yellows pushing through thin soil. Bees appearing from nowhere, making the most of weeks that won't last. The transformation is startling, from white silence to bursts of color, from frozen stillness to buzzing movement. But it never lasts long. Summer here is a guest, always temporary, always aware of its limits. The people of Tasiilaq carry a particular kind of resilience. Not the loud chest-beating kind, but the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. They fish, they hunt, they repair what breaks, they prepare for winter even in the middle of summer. Because they know, better than anyone, that survival here isn't about one good season, it's about understanding that the cold always returns. And when it does, you need to be ready. Tasiilaq doesn't try to be picturesque, it doesn't perform for visitors. It simply exists, tucked into mountains, adapting to ice, holding on to traditions that would have been lost anywhere less isolated. A town that proves isolation isn't always a weakness. Sometimes it's the thing that preserves what matters most.
Sermilik means the place of glaciers, and the name fits. This massive fjord system, roughly 80 to 90 kilometers long, holds some of the densest and most spectacular iceberg traffic on Greenland's east coast. It acts like a pipeline from the interior ice toward the sea, fed in part by Hvalsey Glacier, one of Greenland's largest and most active. Hvalsey is a beast, a living, moving force that doesn't rest. It releases enormous icebergs, the size of small islands or multi-story buildings, drifting outward toward the Atlantic. The scene is defined by scale and authority. The fjord's surface can be filled with dense fragments of ice and towering bergs glowing deep blue, ice compressed over thousands of years. Some bergs are so large they create their own weather, cold air sinking off their surfaces, fog forming in their shadows. Others are jagged and unstable, tilting slowly as their weight shifts underwater, ready to roll without warning. When a large iceberg rolls, it's violent. Tons of ice flipping over, water exploding outward, waves radiating in all directions. If you're on a boat nearby, you feel it. The sudden surge, the rocking, the reminder that you're surrounded by forces you can't predict or control. The blue ice you see isn't just beautiful, it's a record. Each layer represents a year, sometimes decades, compressed under the weight of snow that fell long before you were born. Air bubbles trapped inside, ancient atmosphere frozen in place. When the ice melts, those bubbles are released. Sometimes you can hear them, tiny pops and hisses as millennia-old air escapes. Wildlife follows the ice. Seals rest on floating platforms, using the bergs as safe havens from predators below. They're cautious, always watching, ready to slip into the water at the first sign of danger. Gulls circle overhead, alert to movement below. They dive when fish appear, drawn to the surface by currents stirred up by shifting ice. Their cries echo across the fjord, sharp and insistent, cutting through the deeper sounds of ice grinding against ice. For scientists, Sermeq is a living field site for studying how warming oceans influence glacier melt. They measure everything: water temperature, salinity, ice velocity, calving rates. Data collected here feeds into models that predict sea level rise, that shape climate policy, that tell us how fast the world is changing. What happens in Sermilik doesn't stay in Sermilik. The ice that melts here raises tides in Miami, in Mumbai, in cities that have never seen a glacier. For anyone who reaches it by boat or helicopter, Sermilik feels like a white avenue where geologic time and moving water collide, strange, silent, and immense. You can spend hours here and never see the same view twice. The ice is always shifting, always drifting, always breaking apart and reforming. It's hypnotic, disorienting, beautiful in a way that makes you uneasy, because you're watching something ancient disappear in real time, and there's nothing you can do but witness it. Perched near the entrance to Scoresby Sund, Ittoqqortoormiit is one of the most remote and isolated settlements on the map. It sits on Greenland's east coast, separated from Iceland by a wide stretch of sea, and for most of the year, the coast is nearly inaccessible by ship because of dense sea ice. With roughly 350 residents, Ittoqqortoormiit feels like a small island of life amid gray tundra and massive ice-bound mountains. The only way in is by helicopter from Nerlerit Inat Airport, or by boat during a brief summer window when the sea opens. That's it. No roads, no regular ferry, no casual visits. You come here with intention, or you don't come at all. What defines Ittoqqortoormiit is its people. This is still home to Inuit hunters who maintain a way of life practiced for millennia. While many Greenlandic towns have shifted towards services and tourism, residents here still rely heavily on hunting. Seals, narwhals, and under strict quotas, polar bears for food and materials. Hunting isn't recreation here, it's survival, carried out with deep respect for nature's rules and legal limits. Every hunt requires skill, patience, knowledge passed down through generations, where to find seals resting on ice, how to approach without being seen, how to make every shot count because ammunition is expensive and wasted opportunities are felt by the entire community. The meat is shared, the skins are used, nothing is wasted, because waste here isn't just careless, it's dangerous. Dog sleds remain essential work tools, and the sound of barking teams carries through town more than engines ever do. The dogs are bred for endurance, not speed, not appearance, just the ability to pull heavy loads across frozen terrain for hours without stopping. They live outside year-round, chained in clusters, thick fur protecting them from cold that would kill most animals. When it's time to work, they transform from lounging, howling packs into focused, driven teams, pulling supplies to hunting grounds, hauling back meat and skins, crossing ice that snowmobiles can't handle. Bright red, orange, and blue houses stand out against the snow, small signals of warmth in an unforgiving world. Each one painted not for beauty, but for visibility, for safety, so that in a whiteout, when everything looks the same, you can still find your way home. Inside those houses, life is measured differently, not by clocks or calendars the way cities measure time, but by ice conditions, by animal migrations, by weather patterns. Plans change constantly. A hunting trip scheduled for today might wait a week if the wind turns wrong, or if the ice cracks in unexpected places. Flexibility isn't a virtue here, it's a requirement. Ittoqqortoormiit is where the line between modern life and ancient survival grows thin. There's internet, satellite phones, solar panels on some roofs, but when the storm hits, when the ice shifts, when food runs low, it's the old knowledge that saves you. The hunting skills, the understanding of ice, the ability to read weather in the color of the sky. This is the kind of place that proves human existence itself can be a hard-won victory. Not loud, not celebrated, just persistent. A community that endures because it refuses to forget what survival actually requires.
Scoresby Sund on Greenland's east coast is the largest and deepest fjord system on the planet. Its branching structure reaches more than 350 kilometers inland, like the roots of an enormous tree, a true maze of vertical cliffs and ice-filled water. At its deepest, it drops to around 1,500 meters below sea level, holding an immense volume of water and drifting ice. To put that in perspective, that's deeper than most of the ocean floor, deep enough to swallow mountains. The geology here is a show of Earth's long history. Dark basalt cliffs to the south, layer upon layer of volcanic rock, formed from ancient lava flows that cooled millions of years ago. To the north, layered sedimentary mountains with vivid bands of color, reds and oranges, grays and whites, each band representing a different era, a different climate, a different world. Black rock, white snow, and deep blue water combine into a landscape that feels severe and perfectly still, as if time itself slowed down here and forgot to start again. Scoresby Sund collects countless icebergs of every size and shape, released from glaciers draining the interior ice sheet. Many become trapped in narrow channels, wedged between cliffs, unable to move forward or back. Others drift slowly with currents, turning the fjord into a shifting desert of ice that changes from day to day. You can travel the same route twice and never see the same arrangement. The ice reorganizes itself constantly. New bergs arrive, old ones melt, the maze reconfigures. Along the thin strips of tundra near the coast, Arctic life persists. Muskox, with their thick shaggy coats and curved horns, moving in small herds across rocky ground. They're built for this, compact, low to the ground, designed to conserve heat and withstand wind. In winter, they dig through snow with their hooves, searching for frozen grass and lichen beneath. In summer, they graze on whatever grows, fattening up for the long hold ahead. Reindeer appear too, more skittish than muskox, quicker to startle.
They move in larger groups, always alert, always ready to run. Seabirds nest on the cliffs, kittiwakes and fulmars, their calls echoing off stone walls. They're adapted to short summers and long cold, raising chicks in weeks before winter returns and the food disappears. The silence here is often broken by the echo of ice collapsing from cliffs, a distant boom, then the sound rolling across water, bouncing between canyon walls, or by winds screaming through deep valleys, funneled by the landscape, amplified by the fjord's shape, turning a breeze into a gale that knocks you off balance. On calm days, the stillness is almost unsettling. No birds, no wind, no movement, just water, ice, stone, and the feeling that you're standing inside something far older than human memory. For explorers, Scoresby Sund represents the extreme edge of Earth's scale, space and distance pushed beyond modern expectations. You can travel for hours and feel like you've barely moved because the landmarks are so massive, so far apart. A cliff that looks close might be 20 kilometers away. An iceberg that seems small could be the size of a stadium. Your sense of proportion breaks down, and you're left guessing, recalibrating, humbled. Scoresby Sund doesn't care if you understand it. It simply exists, vast, silent, indifferent. A place where human ambition shrinks to its proper size, and where nature's authority is absolute.
Qaanaaq, also known as Thule, lies in northwest Greenland, among the northernmost inhabited places on Earth. Above 77 degrees north, it lives through nature's extremes, months of polar night, then a summer of midnight sun. Qaanaaq feels like a human outpost set against barren tundra and a frozen ocean. The landscape is stripped down, minimal, almost lunar. Rock and ice and water in their most basic forms, with nothing to soften the edges. Its modern settlement history includes upheaval. Inuit families were relocated in 1953 to make room for a military base, moved from their ancestral lands, forced to rebuild elsewhere. That displacement shaped the community, creating a close-knit identity forged through shared hardship. Today, Qaanaaq is home to around 600 people who live by rhythms most of the world has forgotten. Here, Greenlandic sled dogs aren't just working animals. They are the only legs capable of carrying hunters across frozen fjords to reach food. This ancient breed is tough, enduring, built to handle brutal cold that would kill softer animals. Each dog knows its place in the team, and each team knows its role in the community. The lead dog isn't chosen for size or strength, but for intelligence, decision-making, the ability to read ice and navigate in whiteouts. The wheel dogs, closest to the sled, provide raw power, digging in, pulling hard when the load is heavy or the terrain resists. The team dogs keep formation, maintain pace, follow the leader without question. Hierarchy matters, respect matters. A weak link can endanger the entire team, so discipline is enforced by the dogs themselves. Fights break out quickly and violently, establishing order. Then it's over, and the team moves as one. The bond between hunters and dogs grows from daily care and shared risk. Feeding them, checking their paws for cuts, repairing harnesses, watching their behavior for signs of injury or illness. In this cold, machines fail, engines freeze, fuel lines crack, batteries die. But dogs keep moving. They don't need fuel, they don't break down, they adapt. And when conditions turn deadly, when visibility drops to zero and GPS signals fail, the dogs find the way home, because they remember the scent, the direction, the feel of the ice beneath their paws. Greenland also protects the breed.
In parts of the north and east, other dog breeds are restricted to preserve the sled dog's purity and survival instincts. Because this isn't about preference, it's about survival. Mixing breeds weakens traits that took thousands of years to develop, traits that can't be recovered once they're lost. The sound of paws pounding snow and runners sliding over ice becomes the signature sound of Qaanaaq, especially in winter when the sun doesn't rise for months and the only light comes from the moon, the stars, and the occasional flare of northern lights. During polar night, the darkness is total. Not the darkness of a cloudy evening, but a darkness so complete you lose your sense of direction, your sense of time. People move carefully, conserving energy, staying close to home. Hunting happens by headlamp, by knowledge, by feel. And when summer arrives, the contrast is jarring. The sun circles the horizon, never setting, casting golden light 24 hours a day. Sleep becomes difficult, optional. Children play outside at 3 a.m. and no one thinks it strange. Time loses meaning, days blur together. The body struggles to find rhythm. Qaanaaq is where Arctic harshness is most honest. There's no softening it, no romanticizing it. This is survival at its most elemental. And the people here don't ask for admiration. They don't perform resilience. They simply continue, year after year, generation after generation, knowing that the cold will always return, that the ice will always demand respect, and that the dogs, more than any machine or modern convenience, are what allow life to persist in a place this far north, this far beyond what most would call livable.
Covering Greenland's entire northeast, Northeast Greenland National Park is the largest national park in the world. About 972,000 square kilometers, larger than many countries. It is almost completely wild, with no permanent civilian population, only a small number of scientists and the Danish Sirius Patrol. The park spans an ice sheet, mountains, vast tundra valleys, and a coast of tangled fjords. This is where human control ends and nature's rules take over. The silence here isn't just absence of sound, it's presence, a weight, a thickness, something you feel in your chest. No roads, no trails, no markers telling you where to go or where you've been. Navigation becomes instinct, compass readings, sun positions, the shape of distant peaks, and even then, you're guessing. It is prime polar bear territory, the Arctic's top predator, hunting seals across pack ice with minimal human disturbance. These bears are larger than their southern cousins, better fed, more confident. They move across the ice with a patience that looks lazy, but isn't. Every step calculated, every movement conserving energy, because out here, wasted effort can mean the difference between eating and starving. When they hunt, it's methodical. They wait by seal breathing holes, sometimes for hours, completely still, nose to the ice, listening, smelling, waiting for the moment a seal surfaces to breathe. And when it does, the strike is instant, explosive, over before the seal understands what's happening. Arctic foxes are here too, among the toughest small animals on Earth, changing coat color with the seasons to disappear into snow or rock. In winter, they're pure white, almost invisible against the ice. Only their black eyes and nose give them away. In summer, they shift to brown and gray, blending into tundra and stone. They follow polar bears, scavenging what the bears leave behind, scraps of seal, bits of fat, anything the bear doesn't finish. It's dangerous work. Getting too close means becoming prey themselves, but it's also survival in a place where every calorie counts. Winter here can drop below -50 degrees Celsius, and storms can be violent, winds that tear at skin, snow so thick you can't see your hand in front of your face. During those storms, even the animals hunker down,
Bears dig into snowdrifts, foxes curl tight in dens, birds disappear entirely, and the land becomes nothing but white noise and cold. Yet that harshness has protected one of the last truly untouched regions on the planet. Because it's uninhabitable, it remains unchanged. No development, no industry, no extraction, just ice, rock, wind, and the animals that have learned to survive here. This park isn't just a reserve, it's a time capsule, holding an Ice Age world in place, where silence and scale create a kind of authority that reminds us there are still places on Earth where humans will always be visitors, where we don't belong, not really, where our presence is tolerated but never required. Standing here at the edge of everything, you realize something. The park doesn't care if you leave impressed. It doesn't care if you understand its value. It simply exists, vast, frozen, indifferent, a monument to what the world looked like before we arrived, and a reminder of what we stand to lose if we forget how to protect it.
From the frozen heart of the ice sheet to the remotest settlement on Earth, Greenland reveals something rare, a place where nature still writes the rules, where human life exists not by conquering, but by adapting. Across thousands of years of ice, through valleys where Vikings vanished, past fjords choked with ancient bergs. This land doesn't ask for your attention, it simply exists, vast, quiet, indifferent. But those who witness it leave changed, because Greenland reminds us that there are still places beyond our control, still forces larger than our ambition, and perhaps that's exactly what the world needs, not to be tamed, but to be understood, respected, protected. Thank you for joining this journey through one of Earth's last wild places. Until the next adventure,